Mic check, 1, 2, internet check. I'm gonna try this again. Apparently I was talking for 2 minutes and I didn't hit the go live button. Like a boss. All right, we're gonna try this again. Happy Friday, everybody. TGIF. Let's go in this control panel and see if people are picking up when I'm putting down. Hello out there. Hello world. Come on. Michael Pierre, hello. Mendagas Dragunas, hello. Hello everyone else. Hello Alessandro and everyone else tuning in on this Friday. Today we're going to be looking at a list of 70-some projects to get our mind off everything we are thinking about today. We can go back to worrying about it in an hour, but for the next hour or so, we're going to talk about these couple dozens of projects that are just pretty cool. I know it's kind of vague sounding, but some of these ideas are just, they got me thinking. They got me just, the gears were turning in my mind about the possibilities of these projects. A lot of times we'll see project ideas where it's very specific, and those are good to practice with too. You know, Facebook clones and all this other stuff. But these ideas are more prompts to try and get the gears turning in your mind. We're going to talk about why that's kind of important as the stream progresses. But let's just see. Hey, Aaron, how's it going? Kender, Coder Sales. All right, we're good. Let's go over here and to the GitHub. Now, this is where we're going to be talking about these projects today. I want to give a shout out to the people in the Discord too. This is the RTC Discord, a smaller Discord, but it's a pretty cool place. So sometime during the stream, I'll put the link in the live stream box. I think right now it's in the video description box, but I'll go ahead and pop that in there. Hey, Mila, how's it going? Hey, Karen, how's it going? Cool, we got some peeps here. All right, it looks like we're live. I probably already mentioned this. I have the memory of a broken toaster, but I thought I was live streaming and I was just talking to myself, which is not out of the ordinary. That happens all the time. So it's no big whoop. But if you're just turning in, welcome to the live stream. Today we are going over 72. Hey, Travis. Next Door Panda, what's up? Krishna, hello. 72-ish projects that are beginner friendly for software developers, specifically web developers. And I want to highlight this list. This is not my list. Shout out to Melanie Richards. Talk about her in a second. But this list just stood out to me because the projects, again, they get you thinking. And that's very important in this career field. Let's go to the comments one more time, see how everyone's doing. It's crazy times. We're going to take the next hour and just chill out and do what we love doing, which is build websites, skill up in the educational field of tech, and take it easy. We're going to have some fun with this. Let's check in with the comments here. Hey, not talking to yourself. Thanks, Barry. I never know. Mila says it's going good, just stuck at home. Yeah, same here. But that's okay. Hopefully this will be over soon. We're all hoping for that, right? I mean, someone mentioned in my Discord the other night that, you know what, we are all in this together. Can't really say that about a lot of things in this world with so many billions of people on planet Earth, but this is the one thing where it's just like, it's impacting everybody. So I hope you guys are doing well out there. I wanted to show this the other day on the live stream. This is the new camera. Let me get in full mode here. Ha 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 ha. This is the new camera I got for the channel. Haven't published any videos yet using this camera. This is a Canon EOS 800D, which I think is the same as the T7i. I could be wrong about that. It's something I, Canon something I. This is an awesome camera, and because of my patrons at patreon.com/RealToughCandy and my YouTube channel members, I was able to buy this and a 50mm lens, which is just, oh my gosh, it takes amazing photos. And I cannot wait to show you guys the power of this camera with video. And it shoots 60 frames per second, up to 60 frames per second, so slow-mo footage can look really sweet. Also, quick plug here. This is my newest book, Real Tough Software. Just kind of, I don't want to say a memoir, it's a little too early for that. just kind of sharing my story of how I got in the industry, and my time spent in enterprise development and what I'm up to today, and my journey, basically my coding journey. You guys have left some just killer reviews on Amazon for that. So thanks so much. I don't buy reviews. I don't dabble with that clownery. So just, you know, seeing those reviews and seeing that people enjoyed the book, Real Tough Software, it really just validates me and what I do. So thank you guys so much. Real Tough Software, paperback, Kindle, Amazon.com. All right, enough of that. Let's get to these projects. Let me go to the live stream quick. Donovan's here. Donovan, little piece of candy next to his name, a YouTube channel member. Ian Bayless is here, currently at work. He works 2 days at home, but that will increase. Okay. Beck Brace Design. I think I know you from Twitter. No, Beck Brace? Karen H says, updating an older project between upping my skills. All right. Sounds like you guys are doing pretty good despite everything. Let's check out these projects, all right? So I was doing my thing the other night, and I came across this repo. Now, mind you, I come across a lot of repos just like you guys, but this one was especially dope. I'm going to include the link. I'll include it after the live stream, but if you guys want to follow along right now, actually, I'm going to pop it in the comment section if you guys want to check it out right now. And you guys can follow along with some of the stuff we're going to go with. Now, 72 projects, we're not going to be able to talk in depth about them because this live stream is only going to be an hour. But we're going to talk about the ones that really stood out to me. So this was compiled by Melanie Richards. And shout out to Melanie, because not only did this repo get my attention, but she's the product manager for Microsoft Edge. She has the hardest job in tech right now. Shout out to Melanie for holding it down with Edge. Focused on trust and privacy. Melanie, thank you for your service with Microsoft Edge. You got a hard job, but you stepped up. So shout out to you. Shout out to this repo. Let's talk about it. Just build websites. The hosts of Shop Talk Show podcast, Chris Coyer and Dave Rupert, get asked a lot of questions about how to learn web development. Their mantra is just build websites. I just love this soundbite so much. Amazing. I don't know if you guys heard that. If not, it sounds like you're at a Richard Simmons rally. It's so motivational. Getting your hands dirty with some web projects and filling the gaps in your knowledge is great, etc., etc. Now, let's talk about these projects, right? I've babbled enough. It's already 2:09. Let's talk about these projects. Number 1, help a friend's new business, hobby, resume, or wedding. Guys, if you need real world projects, and here's a spoiler alert, you do, take this bullet point and go with it. As a freelancer, as a code newbie, even as an advanced beginner, even as just a senior or mid-level developer, as a friend. Help that buddy out with their business, hobby, resume, or wedding. Not only does that give you an instant exposure to a real project, but also you're helping a friend out. This is one of the best ways. Now, when we're talking about freelancing, this is one of the best ways to build your portfolio, because everyone has a friend or knows somebody or knows someone of someone or can ask around and know someone who needs a business, who needs a hobby, who needs a resume, who needs a wedding website or a personal website. Everybody needs a personal website. And that's just it's just such an easy way of getting that experience down. This one, I mean, I could spend a half hour talking about each of these. Create a fan site and maybe some old school web forum for something you love. I know we have people out there who enjoy Marvel comics and Marvel comic characters and all the movies and all this other stuff. Not really my thing. I'm not, man, I know some people are just like, yeah, screw her. Like, I don't know, like epic movies, especially like Marvel movies and stuff. I just have a hard time sitting through movies that are 2 hours. Like, I feel like it's such an opportunity cost. Entertainment to me needs to be like half hour, just boom, high protein stuff. But that's a tangent. Everyone's a fan of something. And I know a lot of websites recommend doing this, creating like tribute pages and stuff, but it doesn't have to be a page. As she says right here, a web forum. There are a lot of old PHP scripts floating around out there, open source PHP scripts that allow you to incorporate like forum functionality and chat. You wouldn't even call it chat, just like Billboard, I guess. No, not Billboard. What's the name for it? Forum, a bulletin board. So a lot of ways you could do that. Do something with Node, and then like build an authentication. And when we're going through this list, remember, these are not going to be obvious things for some of us. Like, for example, what I mean by obvious, some people are like, you know what? I want you to go build an eBay clone. I want you to go build a Facebook clone. Those are cool projects, but that problem has already been solved. And it's already been solved like thousands of times over by other developers. So you're not really solving a unique problem. The other problem with that is that these Whopper projects were built by a team and they were improved upon over the years. So to really think that I don't know. I mean, it does have value if you're going to do a Facebook clone, a Google clone, or whatever. It's good practice. But to think that it's going to have a lot of value as far as knowing how teams work or how these big projects work or how features get developed, feature requests and all this stuff, I just think there are better options out there rather than doing clones over and over again. Those are obvious ones to do because people are just throw them out there and they're easy to suggest. But check this list out instead, or in addition to. Try to rebuild a page of a favorite site without looking at their code. This is a freaking great one. I'm only on number 4. And Melanie, shout out to you, ma'am, because number 4, rebuild a page of a favorite site or app. I'm going to throw that in there without looking at their code. So many skills you can practice with that. And that's something you're going to be doing on the job too. You're going to be looking at code. You have no idea what these people were thinking, especially if best practices weren't being followed during the development, which a lot of times they're not. It's easy to be very angry when this happens, and it's natural. Some people say, well, don't get mad at legacy code and don't get mad at the developers. Look, getting mad lets me identify the problem and work through it. That's how I deal with things when they're blocking me in my way. So that's how I overcome legacy code or other code where I have no idea what's going on. Anyways, rebuilding a page without looking at their code, reverse engineering is a powerful, powerful concept. And being able to architect that without seeing the code, you're going to be practicing a lot of skills with that. It's not just about knowing Node. It's not just about knowing JavaScript functions, JavaScript methods. The architecting, the design, not just the visual design, but the program design, the system design as well, if you want to get that far with it. Very important, essential, indispensable, etc. Follow first timers only to get notified about first timers only issues on GitHub. I've heard of this. Oops. Oh, heck. I thought it was going to go to a frickin'... Okay, here it is. My bad. First timers only. Friendly open source projects should reserve specific issues for newbies. Has anyone done this? Has anyone participated with first timers only on GitHub? Because I've heard about it, but again, I've never met anyone or done it myself when I was a newbie about these new issues. I don't know. Let's get rid of this. Look at everybody's code. Build a sustainable pro bono site for a nonprofit in your area. Free Code Camp has people do this and think about this. And this is a great idea too. Here are some ideas for you. Code for America, if you're in the US. Maybe even if you're outside. I'm not really sure. What if all government services were this good? Ha 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 ha. It's a nice thought. But I guess they're trying to make dreams into reality. Interesting. So this is one option, Code for America. You know what? Let's see about us. I'm actually interested. They're a network of people making government work for the people, by the people, in the digital age. You know what? Good for them. This is actual government services, government websites. Guys, I laughed out loud the other week. I was on a federal government website. I don't remember which one it was, but there was some application where it was a great functionality. It was a great idea. I wish I could remember what it was. I just remember wanting to use it. But it only ran in Internet Explorer. And there is the disclaimer on the site, on the app, this will only run in IE. I was like, dude, seriously? Like, wow. Indeed, what if all government services were this good? Our government websites and government apps just are, in a way right now, in a real big way. Women on Call, Catch a Fire, Volunteer Match. There's other ones there too. And again, going back to that real world thing, how awesome would this look in a portfolio? Find a local issue that's important to you and make a brochure site that supports your stance. So thinking global, act local type of thing. This kind of relates to pro bono sites. Rebuild a previous project using a CMS or coding language you're curious about. This is a neat one. Sometimes, a lot of times when we do these projects in online coding bootcamp courses, like on Udemy, we don't know how to make them better. We don't know how to add features to them or what feature to add. This could be a really cool idea for one of these projects like Smart Brain, Andre Negoy's bootcamp, or if you're doing a Cold Steel course, Yelp Camp. I was meeting with the client earlier this week. I was really impressed. So they had one of their projects in their portfolio was a variation of Yelp Camp. I had no idea. This person had to tell me, actually I built Yelp Camp and then I transformed it into this new application. I was like, dude, you could have fooled me, because I didn't look at his GitHub or anything. And I said, good for you. That's awesome. That's a great spin on that. I don't need to go into my rant about putting projects from boot camps into your portfolio. Touched upon that in various videos. Make a game powered by web tech. This is a good one too. HTML5 Canvas. Oh, HTML5 Canvas is so freaking rad. You can do so many cool things with it. Try to replicate. This is probably my favorite one on this list. Try to replicate an in real life visual effect using only CSS. That's the power of CSS. You can just create anything. I don't know if you guys have been on CodePen or how often you use CodePen or check out the site. People build some really cool things in CSS, and the textures, the movement, the animations, it's just like, wow. CSS is super frustrating because there's so many rules that don't make sense. There really isn't a lot of logic to it if you're not using less or Sass. I guess that can be interpreted in a lot of ways, but I guess I should say the better phrase would be CSS it isn't consistent in its rules. But CSS, man, just go outside and seeing, the sunshine or a tree and the textures on a tree or the wind or some force of nature, an ocean, that movement and that animation, like, wow. That's cool. And then sticking that on a website or something. Now listen to this. Here's a boss move. Creating a sustainable pro bono site for a nonprofit in your area using IRL visual effects using only CSS. Guys, if that doesn't get you the interview for a front-end developer or a dev/designer position, I don't know what will. Explore generative art. I can't really add much to this. This isn't, I don't know. Not my favorite idea on here, but it might be something that some people find interest in. I guess I'm just personally biased. I don't get the feels with generative art. Let's check out what everyone's up to in the live. Where can we find this list? Hologram Nunchuck wants to know. Well, I'll put it right. It should be in the comments up here. Whoa! Super chat! Barry Fisher, well done. It's important to think outside the box in these difficult times. We must all adjust and adapt and explore new ideas. Barry, I could not agree more with that. Thank you for your super chat, and thank you for the great message attached. Craig Wadding's here. What's up, Craig? What's up, GC? Some Discord peeps. Sarah, too. Is this Sarah O from California? Sarah is also our moderator over on the over on the Discord. Sarah the Dev! I'm wondering if that's the same one in the chat right now. If so, and even if not so, I'm going to take this time right now to invite you guys to the Discord. This is going to be the only... Whoopsies, hold on. We don't want Safari. I'm pressing buttons and I don't know what's what. This is my Discord. It's open to everybody. All abilities welcome. We have people who have been in the industry for decades. We have code newbies. We have people who aren't even in tech. Yes, it's the real Sarah. Hi, Sarah. All right, we got a question. Is it really necessary to know data structures and algorithms to get a job of a web developer? It is not necessary, but it is a great skill to have. I was slow to pick up data structures and algorithms. It really all depends on the job. A lot of developers get through life not knowing data structures and algorithms, but I think there does come a point where you do hit that ceiling and you do need to know them. When I first started, here's the problem with being, one of the problems with being self-taught, especially as a web developer, we're not normally exposed to resources that prioritize data structures and algorithms. And when we do see them, we see terms like binary trees, you know, the different, just so many terms you just don't hear when you're building projects. Queues, stacks, heaps, all this other stuff. Tries. That's a cool concept. T-R-I-E-S. Tries. Singular try. T-R-I-E. I love the concept. It's a relatively new concept, but a very powerful one. Let's get back to this list. This is another banger. Challenge yourself to make a site under a certain KB limit. Now, both of these are lowercase, so am I to assume kilobyte or kilobit? Either way, you could go like pro mode and then boss mode. Do one with kilobyte and then do one with kilobit. That would be rad. And guys, I cannot emphasize how great this repo is for making projects that have an impact, that have real value. Because if you're making a site under a certain size limit, under a certain kilobyte or kilobit limit, you're probably going to make it more efficient. And that's really what makes us money in this game. The name of the game in this game, I think, is more than one name. I think it's efficiency, and I also think it's problem solving above everything. If you're not solving problems in software development, you're not making money. Period, point blank, end of story. We're problem solvers. And when you do this kind of challenge, you're solving a real big problem. And we're always, as long as computers exist, we are going to have this problem. We are never, I mean, in an ideal world, all file sizes would be 0, right? Imagine how fast that would be to load. So, I mean, that is impossible in our current reality, but we can always try and make things smaller, make them more efficient. Now, smaller doesn't necessarily mean more efficient, but it's a good indicator in a lot of cases. Identify a need you have in your daily life and make a web app that addresses it. This is a tough one. Most of my needs in my daily life are beyond computers. So I don't know how applicable that is to some people. Imagine what your favorite fictional character's website would look like. Ooh, that's a good one. What are some of your guys' favorite fictional characters? Now, after just rambling a few minutes ago about how I really don't like Marvel movies, like, or like superhero comic stuff, when the PS2 was still a thing, my sister got the Lego, because there's like Lego Batman, there's Lego Indiana Jones. We played all of those. I just love those Lego games, especially for PS2. The Wii Lego games, I don't like the Wii controller. I like the PlayStation controller is a whole lot better. But we would play Lego Batman. Ah, it was so fun. And that's when I first discovered Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is sick. You can't trust Harley Quinn. She's a pretty cool character. And imagining what her website would look like, imagining what the Joker's website would look like, that's exciting. I imagine the Joker's website to have, for those of us who remember the web from back in the day, like flaming text and like 8-bit, like, I don't know, for lack of a better, I don't even know what I would call, what kind of music I would call it. Just like, almost like an 8-bit gangsta's paradise with no lyrics. Just like those wee, 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 like, you know, stalker music, I guess you could call it. Explore web features on Can I Use and build a site with web features you've never heard of and used before. For those of you who have not heard of this website, it's pretty nifty. It keeps you updated with tech and what is compatible with each browser. I didn't say that in the best way. Basically, if you want to know something like, can I use Flexbox on Internet Explorer? Let's find out. So, Firefox for Android, check. What about, I don't know, what about like, Gap, okay, so this was Gap property, my bad, I should have explained this better. So, Gap property, I was like, wait, Flexbox you can't use on any of this? That's not right. Gap property for Flexbox. So there's actually 3 results here. That's what I get for not reading. Gap property for Flexbox is a no-go on a lot of these. CSS flexible box layout module, this is actually the one I'm looking for. This is what we know as the Flexbox. These are all the current browsers here. So right here, I don't know if you guys can see, Firefox, okay, good. Chrome, yup. Safari, great. Opera, yes. Internet Explorer, kind of. So this is a cool feature. When you're, maybe if you're building a site or building a feature with experimental technologies, you can check this out. I'm trying to think of some, what about like an older one? Canvas. Text API for Canvas. Canvas basic support. And as you can see here, all the modern versions of all these browsers support Canvas. But if you're going Canvas blend mode, you might have an issue. You're going to have an issue in Opera Mini, not Opera Mobile, Internet Explorer, at least the modern stable edition of this. So that's that site, caniuse.com. There's probably a lot of features here I don't even know about. I really don't use this site all that much. Probably should get in the habit of doing that more often though, just checking if these newer things are compatible. But her point was, explore website features or explore web features on Can I Use and build a site with web features you've never heard of and or used before. That's just, man, Melanie, somebody give you a raise at Microsoft, okay? Somebody give this woman a raise. Like, did you come up? Where did you get these ideas? You just sat down one night after a long day of product managing and said, you know what? Just build websites, and came up with this list. Like, man, some great stuff on here. Anyways, Can I Use, like, so for example, Canvas blend modes. It's a method of defining the effect resulting from overlaying 2 layers on a canvas element, kind of getting that Photoshop meshing. Yum, yum, yum. That's something that would be fun to play around with if you're into design. I wonder if like something like this would be on there. Sure enough, the API, node list API. So not just for front end folks, full stack and back end welcome here as well. Node API prefix. Some of these are going to be more challenging than others. It's pretty rad. Where are we? Showcase a personal collection. Yours or someone else's. Opening up a closet and seeing your clothing. What if you did that? What if you inventoried a closet full of clothes? Or what if you inventoried your socks? Now, for some of us, that's going to be a little funky. So maybe pick a more sanitary clothing item, maybe the collection of band shirts or something. Although if you go to shows a lot, those kind of get gnarly and nasty too. But what if you built like a CSS animation or something, inventoried your clothes and put it on a clothing rack and built a site out of it? Or just a one-pager where it's like an animation of a clothing. I don't know. I just got a flashback of the 1980s in a dead mall and racks of clothes just like billowing in the recirculated air of Dayton's or Herberger's or, I don't know, Marshall Field's. What's like a dead retailer? Montgomery Wards. Showcase a personal collection, yours or someone else's. This could be a good full stack project too. Add some authentication on there. You're going to need a database. You could use a database to hold your collection of items. You could not use a database. Explore it that way. Research your genealogy and build a tree. That's a cool one too. That's another great full stack project. And I cannot emphasize this enough. If I saw any of these efforts in someone's portfolio, their portfolio and their candidacy would stand out in my mind. And I might even prioritize them as far as an interview goes. And, you know, I'm not the only one who thinks that too. This is the type of stuff that's exciting for recruiters. It's exciting for small business owners, or not small business owners, but as myself, it's exciting for me as someone who does hire people and contracts with people and developers. It's just when you see on someone's resume or on their portfolio that they have taken the time to think, oh, that's powerful. That's powerful. And they've taken the time to assess the process. That's money too. So yeah, I mean, there's just, I think that's what I do love about this list so much, is that it does make you think. It does make you think about the process rather than, I've played out this example, building a Facebook clone. There's some other projects where I'm like, oh, I mean, it's fine, but there's so much more out there. We've all got to start somewhere, no doubt, but I think a lot of these, I mean, you could get started just knowing a little bit of HTML with some of these, as you'll see. I don't know if we've gotten to any of those yet, but there's one in particular where I'm like, you know what, even if you've only known web development, even if you only have been studying it for a week and just know about some HTML tags, you can still get started. Okay. Showcase personal collection, research your genealogy, and build a tree. If you're a private person, not really the one for you. Gather personal data and use a chart or visualization library to present it or come up with your own unique visualizations. If you're a Python person, this is pure gravy. Python has so many libraries and modules and extra functionality to just rock the charts and visualizations. You don't have to use Python though, but it'd be a good match. Retool an existing site to load 10 times faster. This is another one where it's just, the value is so clear. 10% might not seem like much, but I can assure you that is a huge, huge improvement. I'm just curious, what if you put just a general term there? Would it match you with something? It has to match. I see. I was just seeing if they would suggest technologies related to a term. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, I'm probably just digging a hole for myself right here, getting into trouble with that. But let's go to the comments. Well, here's a good question. Ayub says, hey guys, I want to ask if I can use jQuery anymore. You know what? Jose says, my parents bought my family's first Gateway 2000 PC at Montgomery Wards. Yes, you guys remember Gateway, right? The cow boxes, right? Come on, someone remembers this. Let me go here. Is jQuery dead? I want to show you guys this. So I took this poll, and this is my website at RealToughCandy. A lot of people responded that they don't use jQuery. I'm not going to go over this, those results. But there are a lot of people asking if jQuery is dead. Is jQuery worth using? I will always be a fan of jQuery. It is such a fun library. The syntax is succinct. It makes sense for humans. So basically, the syntax is find something, do something. Find an anchor tag, or find, I don't know, what's something, find something in the DOM and do something to it. Find a paragraph and increase the font by 1.2 EMs. Do you guys say M's or EMs? I say rem and M. Guys, if you want to have a wrapper name, don't use the wrapper generator. Just rem and M. There's Eminem. Yeah. Eminem peaked. 2020 is the time for Eminem. You're welcome. Sammy Turner says, RTC, I bought your freelance newbie book. Very practical, great stuff. Thanks, Sammy. That's great to hear. That book has sold, it's my best performing book. I gotta fix this. I don't want to look like too much of a hussy here. Sorry about that. Instead of jQuery, someone wanted to ask what to use. Honestly, you can use React to replace a lot of jQuery stuff. Not everything. You can, for Ajax requests, oh man, I'm just so sentimental about jQuery too, because it helped me build so many projects and really made sense to, it just makes sense to me. It made sense to me as a newbie, it makes sense to me now, and it's too bad that it was outmoded. You can replace a lot of the stuff with React. You can use something like Axios. There's also an API, the Fetch API, instead of jQuery's Ajax. So I think it's a one-to-one replacement. I'm not sure. Let's check. What's the difference between Fetch and jQuery Ajax? What? It wasn't downvoted into oblivion? Incredible. Fetch spec difference from jQuery Ajax in 2 ways. Okay, I didn't know this. The promise return from Fetch won't reject on HTTP error status, even if the response is a 404 or 500. It'll resolve normally and only reject on network failure if anything prevented the request from completing. And number 2, by default, Fetch won't send or receive any cookies from the server. Okay. Resulting in unauthenticated requests. If the site relies on maintaining a user session to send cookies, the credentials init option must be set, or init. Okay, that's interesting. The more you know, right? Anyways, yeah. This person said jQuery is not part of the browser. If you say fetch does not work, then jQuery won't work either. Fetch polyfills, blah, blah, blah. Can I use fetch? Yeah, i.e. no. Fetch event API, no. Safari, no. Anyways, let's get back to this list. Create a custom start page for new tabs in your browser. Perhaps use APIs to fetch information that's tailored to your interests. Boom. Make a beautiful website using only text, no images. Now, this is the one where if you're completely new, you want to build something, you want to be creative, you don't want to just do a tribute site, you want to try something else, try and make it as clean as possible, as beautiful as possible, whatever you think that term means, using only text. Here's the thing though, if you do know some CSS, you can make that text I'm so excited I can't even speak. You can make that text look really cool. You can angle it and make it into different forms and make it look like it's waving on the page, or like maybe you're doing a site on boats, but you can't have photos. What if your text had a wave or something, or you had text blocks that functioned as page breaks or line breaks or something? You know what I'm getting at? Just using text as ornamentation, using CSS to transform it. That would be cool. That is what I love about this idea too, is that you don't have to be a code newbie. I love challenges in code that are simple, because that gives me more creative control and I can do more things with it and I can push it further. Whereas if there are a lot of requirements, that's kind of a different skill set, because you have to follow directions, so that's important, right? If you're trying to get a job, your goal is to get a job, you got to be able to follow directions, read documentation. Reading's a big one. That's something people won't talk about, but you know, when you get on the job, you're going to be reading documentation, you're going to be reading code, you're going to be reading more than you're going to be typing, because this is a phrase, this is I don't know if you want to call it a maxim or what, but this is a reality. I think it was Sandy Metz I first heard it from. You write code once, but you read it multiple times, and others read it multiple times. So therefore, the cost is not writing it, but reading it. The cost of code is not writing, but reading. But that was a very interesting observation. Tinker with an old site to make it more accessible to people with various abilities and technical setups. First thing that comes to mind is iPads and mobile devices. Now, we've gotten better, a lot better. Media queries, man, I remember when I was just like media querying everything. Fortunately, with the advances in CSS, I don't have to do that all that often anymore. You know, media queries aren't bad. It's just there are better ways to do things. And that's one thing. Can I just rant for a sec? That is one thing where it's like some people are very gatekeeperish and they're very, very strict. And I kind of was like this like earlier on, like my first year of learning software, particularly web development, I was kind of gatekeeperish. I was kind of a jerk. I just had a bad attitude about it, like, well, I know this, and this, and you should never do this. And when I see that behavior in software developers now, I think one of two things. This person's new, and you know, when you're new with anything, I find that people are less flexible. When you're new, you don't pivot as fluidly when you're new. It's like, oh, I'm working on a front end oh, I'm working on Node. Oh, it's like very stop and go, very, very just abrupt. But as you skill up, pivoting is just like this. So for example, 3 years ago, if someone said, I don't know what offended me 3 years ago. I don't remember in particular, but let's just say I'm a newbie now. Let's say I'm like 2 months in and someone said, yeah, I mean, I use media queries for some of my, I'd be like, what? Amateur. It's like, dude, calm down. Media queries still work. Also, there are priorities when it comes to websites and web apps. We're going to get to refactoring. We can't do it all in a night. We can't do it all in a day. Features take priority. And once you get into real world software development, a lot of times you don't get to choose what you work on, or you don't get to choose what's prioritized, even though you know something's going to break in 3 months. The boss is in charge. The people who own the company are the ones who are going to essentially make the rules. They may listen to you in a board meeting, but they're probably going to flush your idea after you leave. That's just, just the way it is. Finally share, oops, I missed one. Finally share, style some free themes for popular blogging service. This is a great one for WordPress. Check this out. WordPress theme, how to build. If you're learning PHP, building a WordPress theme would be not only a great project to build your skills, but also put it in your portfolio and also maybe sell. If you're a freelancer, there are a lot of times where it's just almost easier for me to build a plugin for WordPress rather than do without. I don't know if that's what I meant to say. I would rather just build something in the time it takes me to actually try and find something that fits my needs, my exact needs. And sometimes, a lot of times, that stuff just isn't out there anyway. So what happens is I'll spend 3 hours trying to find a solution. In that 3 hours, I could have spent 2 and built it myself. But people are lazy. I'm a lazy programmer. It's not bad to be a lazy programmer. Work smarter, not harder. But sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands and build this stuff. WordPress themes, WordPress plugins. Create your first plugin in 5 simple steps. So it's actually not as overwhelming as you might think. If you're just starting to learn PHP and haven't worked with WordPress before, yeah, it's going to be tough. But if you've been doing this stuff for a couple months, it could be a good project. What's going on in the comments? Hologram said WordPress is huge in San Diego. Home Studio says, I know the basics, just can't make an interactive modern website on my own. HTML and CSS is boring for me, but maybe I should start that. Yeah, I mean, just start somewhere, you know? Just start and see what happens. Because a lot of times what happens is that we'll start on a project and we'll just feel like pretty bored with it. And that's not a good sign. But if you force yourself to do it, I think that's going to help in a few ways. Number one, you're going to have to do things at work that you don't want to work on. Even if this is a career field that you're passionate about and that you enjoy a lot, on the job, there's just things that come with the job. You usually can't choose everything that you want to do. So you're going to have things you don't want to work on. Just like, ugh, okay, I'll go code this. So that's going to help your mind get disciplined for that. And in that process, here's the benefit when you're doing these kind of things, when you're forcing yourself, pushing yourself to work on stuff you don't want to really work on at home, is that you might find some inspiration during the build to really make things interesting. Now, on its own, HTML and CSS, it's just like, okay, I have these things, now what? Start building something boring and then play around with it. Break it. You know, it's nothing so important. It's just a CSS and HTML page that you're making and playing around with, right? Break some stuff. That's fun for me. I love just like slaughtering my CSS and using new properties, experimenting with HTML APIs. HTML is actually really interesting. The new school stuff, the HTML APIs are super powerful. And, you know, there are such things as HTML developers, because when you're working with the HTML APIs, it's so much more than just what we think it is. It's not just, oh, yeah, I'm messing with some text, or like I'm linking to a website. Like that's the old way of doing stuff, and it's still very important. But there's just a whole new world of stuff out there with HTML and CSS. So don't feel too depressed about it, because it really is a dynamic world, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. So don't fear about being bored with it, because once you start, a lot of stuff just gets easier. The hardest part is just starting. The hardest part is firing up that code editor when you're not feeling it. Oh my God, it's 2:50? God. All right, I need to hurry this up. Practice making style guides by building one for an existing site. Guys, if you haven't checked out this repo yet, do it. I'm going to link this right now. That is a dope idea. Practice making style guides by building one for an existing site. You might find yourself reducing current styles or refactoring duplicative code. Duplicative. That's a word I don't say very often. Now check out this repo. Here it is, right in the chat. Boom. Cool. Barry says, as an English person, your English accent cracks me up. Barry, I freaking love your guys' accents. I love the different flavors of them. I'm one of those ignorant Americans who has a really hard time understanding people when they're not from my area. Like when I went to basic training, I was in the Air Force, and when I went to basic training, people are from all over the country, right? Like I have a hard enough time understanding Southerners or people from like out east. When I was in basic training and some of these people were talking to me from different parts of the country, I needed subtitles. Like, and when I hear different accents, even though they're in English, I'm like, oh my God, what did that person just say? Story time real quick, and then I'll get back to it. I was driving around. I used to live down south, right? And I used to be a smoker, and I was getting a pack of cigarettes, just an emergency pack. I was traveling. I like to have a little smoke when I'm driving. My vice used to be a smoke and a Monster Energy. I had an 86 Civic, and I was just cruising, and man, I just loved it so much. That was my style. But so I ordered this. I was in Oklahoma. I said, can I get a pack of Marlboro Smooths? And the lady was like, can I see Heidi? I said, excuse me? Heidi. Who the is Heidi? I need to see some Heidi. Oh, ID. Here you go. It's just really hard for me to understand people. You know, and I'm not an ignorant person. Like I'm pretty well traveled. I just have a hard time understanding people with different accents. Anyways. Style, I missed one. Reinvent the wheel. Make a calculator, a personal finances web app, a time tracking app. Yeah, you could do that. I mean, it's not the worst project idea. I think everyone has to go through this. Making a calc, making a personal finances web app, making a time tracking app. What if you did it in 10 different ways? What if you made a calculator using different front-end frameworks or different libraries? What if you made a calculator in React, Angular, Vue, and Knockout? And then what if you, I don't know, what if you gave one a data? What if you use like Firebase or something for one of them? That would be freaking cool. So anyways, style guides by building one for an existing site. Okay, so what they mean by style guide, I'll probably just show you. This is Carbon Design by IBM. Material Design is by Google, and that's probably the most well-known material. Oh, come on. Material Design, here it is. Why do they have it way down here? You think you could filter it by popularity or something. Maybe I'm just missing something as usual. There's not even a search. This is not the best UX, but we're going to work with it. Material. So this is what she means by style guide. Basically, the rules for how something should be. I don't want to sound ignorant, and I want to. You know what? Okay, I think you guys know what it means by style guide. The rules to follow. It's basically documentation for the style of the site. And material design. Wow, you guys have seen material design in action. This is Google's official documentation for material design. So they have guidance. They have this documentation on the different visual components. For example, the layout. You're not going to see any code here. And this might be kind of confusing for people who aren't deep into design. But this is a great project idea. This is a great freaking project idea because people use these things. They're real world, and there's a lot to design on here. Not only are you having to architect the style, you're having to segment it and write about it and build the website that hosts the style guide. This is definitely, where's that style guide? This one is not for newbies. I would be, even now, I mean, making a style guide, I suppose if you have a really small design system, it wouldn't be so bad. But if you're trying to put together something like material design, dude, that wouldn't be for me. Style a site using 3 different approaches to CSS architecture and see which one felt best. It's a good one. I like that approach of trying things in different ways, using different technologies. I think it opens your mind a little to the larger thing we're after. Use the same basic process to vet new frameworks or content management systems. Reimagine a favorite painting, sculpture, or installation as web art. That's cool. I like that this list has things that appeal to people's preferences and encourages people to be creative based on what they like. Like, yeah, that's all. I think people, so much time is wasted doing things we don't like. If you're a career changer, like many of us watching this, there's no sense in doing stuff that you absolutely can't stand when it comes to projects. Do something that you like. You know, who's your favorite musical artist? There are many ways you can incorporate that person or that band into a project. It doesn't have to be a tribute page. And then kind of going back to what we were talking about just a minute ago, solve the same problem in 10 different ways. Guys, can you imagine 10, okay, maybe not for the style guide, don't do 10 style guides. Do not do 10 style guides, but like 10 calculators, 10 ways to animate a fire, flames, 10 different variations on a paragraph block as far as layout and pixel size and all this stuff. It doesn't have to be, I mean, you can take it as far as you want, but there's no minimal requirement. These are great prompts. And I know I've said this a million times, but this is just this list. And of course, true to form, like the most amazing repos are underground. Meanwhile, like how to fart in 10 languages has like 100,000 stars. Like, just bite me, dude. This deserves a lot more love. Teach a small child their colors, numbers. This is great for parents, moms who code. We got some of those on the channel. Teach a small child their colors, numbers, letters, shapes with a touch-friendly, interactive website. Making something for your kid. I saw this on Twitter. This was a few months ago. This woman made an app for her young child. This kid was probably under 6 years old. It was just really neat to see. It's practical. It's helping someone. And it's education-based. Wow, this is the type of stuff that I get excited about. I do not get excited about just these applications that, yeah, might have a financial future, but just don't have any social value. That's not why I'm here. That's not why I'm on this planet. Unfortunately, because most of my life I was spent broke, I didn't have the luxury of picking who I wanted to work for, what kinds of work I wanted to do. I worked for employers where I didn't believe in their mission statement, where employers were doing things that I just absolutely just made my skin crawl. And it bugged me. But when you're broke, you don't have a choice. Now that I'm not broke, I want to do something that has meaning. Now that I have that freedom, and I'm still building, and I'm still pushing, and I'm still going, and I'm not satisfied. I am not satisfied because I still have so much to do. But again, going back to that thing, if you are crossing over to this career field just to be miserable, you may as well go be a bartender. That's actually a video topic I'm going to be talking about soon. Bartending versus software development. Who makes more money? Especially the first year. Spoiler alert, a bartender. We're going to talk about it, though, in a video with my new freaking snapshot machine. I'm so excited. Yes. Okay. Catalog. Hey, we were talking about this earlier. Catalog every piece of clothing in your closet, plant in your garden, or spice in your kitchen, and make the collection filterable. This site should remember the user's last set of filters. Oh, guys, local storage. Think about these tech features and these things that you can use. Local storage, databases, filtering systems. Man, filtering is actually pretty difficult. When I was in enterprise development, I worked on e-commerce applications, like very large scale e-commerce applications with hundreds of thousands of items. No Shopify. This was bespoke code, okay? Having to work on the filter system for one of these sites, oh my gosh. So what I did, just because I'm sure you guys are sick of looking at this list, spice it up here. So for one of these sites, one of my tasks was to create functionality for the products result page on Filter. So a banner would show up on select products that were on sale, or were a new arrival, or closeout, or part of a BOGO. Now it's actually harder than you think if you've never done it before. So I've never done that before. It was in PHP, and the biggest problem, this is a problem that a lot of us have, and it really is so discouraging, is not knowing where to start. How do you even get started? Okay, RTC, I need you to programmatically attach banners to these products. So creating the CSS itself was a challenge because I had to create a ribbon. So it's like, it's hard to, I wish I had an example in front of me. So like the ribbon is a diagonal line, but it also creates the effect of going around the square. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just like a line like this. So let's say this was a product. And so the banner would be right here. So I had to create that diagonal, but also two little notches up here and right here. So it would create the effect of an actual ribbon. And then programmatically attach the ribbons to the products based on how the customer sorted and filtered the products. It was a fun challenge, but there were times where I was like, can you help me? Like, oh man. And plus just knowing like these applications that are, you know, there's a lot of pressure on developers with any application when you're working from a 9-to-5 job or freelancing. But with those big applications, like, I was intimidated because, you know, the boss is all, okay, RTC, where's the freaking banner? Why isn't it showing 10% off when I search for 10% off items? And I'm like, because I'm new, I'm scared. I got over it though, and I built it. Point being, the filtering, the filterable thing is you can make it really challenging, make it really fun. Let's check out the comments, and then we're gonna finish this up. It would be nice if she would mention the current time and temperature every 5 minutes. No, I don't think it would actually. Ramin, why are you trolling me, dude? Yeah, bye. Kim says, don't really understand. Why don't you like the style guide of the material design? A lot of this stuff has been researched from the Google. Yeah. Do you guys want the current time and temperature? Nah. Choose an API. Okay, let's get back to this list. Choose an API in the programmable web directory and make something with it. What's this all about? Ooh, have you guys seen this site? Have you guys used this? I've seen this. I have not used it. The last time I saw this was about 2 years ago. I'm sure there's been a lot of stuff added. 22,000 APIs. APIs are really cool. You can learn a lot implementing them. Choose one, choose wisely. We've all heard of probably the Google Maps API, whatever. Twitter API, yep, YouTube API, Facebook API. We've all heard of that stuff, right? But there's many, many more out there. You can do a lot of stuff with APIs, which I just mentioned. You can also make your own. That can be a good project too. Choose a book in the public domain and make a site where a user could read it, make notes and highlights, etc. Ooh, that's a good one. Archive.org. Let's see if they have some books, which I know they do. What if you went to archive.org? Just type, where's your books? American Libraries? 3 million items, perhaps? Boston Library Consortium. Collection. Go through some of these libraries and grab a book and go have some fun with it. Choose a book on the public domain. Just make sure this stuff is public domain. Because it's on archive.org, I assume it is, but you never want to get too crazy and do something that is breaking a rule or breaking something. It's okay to break code, but don't break the law. A textbook of entomology, including the anatomy, physiology, embryology, and metamorphosis of insects, metamorphoses, excuse me, for use in agricultural and technical schools and colleges, as well as by the working entomologist. What could you guys do with this for a project? Let me count the ways. Let me count. You can already read that book, but can you highlight it? Whoops. Read it aloud, zoom in, zoom out. What kind of functionality could you actually add to this? Or could you maybe use the archive.org API? Let's see if it's on here. Internet Archive API. Ooh, guys, you see where this is going here? The Internet Archive REST API allows developers to access and integrate the functionality and content from Internet Archive with other applications. Some example API methods include pulling a user's what? Okay, you got me interested. Pulling a user's bookmarks, searching and retrieving search results, and accessing top-level pages. So this really doesn't have to do with the actual reading of books. At least this API right here, and from what I've read right here, but there's some cool stuff you could do with this API in conjunction with the actual books. What's everybody up to? Barry says, if you've used, developed, or designed in WordPress, you most likely have transferable skills. That's just it. Gabe says, Howard Stern does that and it drives me crazy. Is he still a thing? Like, is he still doing his, whatever he does, podcast? I don't know. Did he cross over to podcasting from his radio show? All right, we got a few left, guys, and I'm going to wrap this up. Thank a person. Choose a book in the public domain. Got that one. Think of a person in your life. Think of a person in your life. Build a site they'd love. Valentine's Day is long gone, but you don't have to wait till February to do something nice for someone you like, right? Building a site that they love. It's a good one too. Now build a site that they abhor. What do they, what really drives them crazy? If you really want to troll someone and they hate snakes, build them a site with videos of pythons. Use the YouTube video API. Depends on what kind of friend you have, though. Create a complex work of emoji art. Emojis are cool little things. That's all. Limit yourself to a palette of black and a color or white and a color. Now this is going to CSS stuff, but when you put these restrictions on yourself as a developer, you're going to find yourself thinking more creatively. Choose another restraint and create web art inspired it. Make a time calculator. Now these ones, she actually has some specifics. So if you want some constraints, if some of these open-ended, most of these are pretty open-ended. But if you go to the bottom of the list, with the ones with the guidelines, she has some rules. So the interface needs to display the current time that ticks away, updated every second like a clock, input fields for days, hours, minutes, and seconds, and then the enter button. Details, enter your data and press enter to calculate when the time will be. And then as an example, she gives this here. The screen will display all of this stuff. I don't need to read it, but just some guidance if you're wondering how to get started or what things should look like. Make a unit converter. Now here are the more practical projects that we see a lot in these repos. Make a unit converter. The interface, again, so simple here. Design the interface however you would like. If you get stuck, try to recreate the converter interface used at Google. Convert various units from one to another. Examples, kilometers to miles, inches to millimeters, and so on. So the requirements are pretty simple, but can give you some guidance with that. Go on to an adventure and document it in an interesting way. Like this site has done, enchantments.guide, okay. That's not it. Create a custom 404 page. Create a random number generator, picking lottery numbers. The rules here and what the interface should look like, the details with that. That could be a fun one. Create a new repo page on GitHub. Make something inspired by the randomly generated repo name they give you. Recreate the title sequence of a favorite show or movie using CSS. For example, Stranger Things. Cool. And then finally, a site with a historic or futuristic user interface. Guys, Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out soon. What if you had a cyberpunk user interface site? That would be super freaking cool. And that is all of them. 70-some projects for beginners. Hope you got some good ideas from this list. Again, check the comments. I'll put it in the pinned comments here. Some really cool ideas for getting started. If you really don't find inspiration in these, but still want to make something, try to go to these ones with the guidelines, because then you can kind of just make your brain a checklist, or put that checklist in your brain and check it off, instead of asking yourself, well, did I do it? Did I do it? Is this enough? Is this enough? Make a time calculator. Start with that. Calculators and to-do lists are perfectly valid and perfectly good for practice. It's just not something you want to put in a portfolio. Not every project has to go in a portfolio. All right, let's go to the questions here. Hello, RTC. Hello, Ayush. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. David says, are tech companies still hiring right now despite the outbreak? I don't know I don't have a definitive answer for that. I would imagine that I do know some companies right now are in a hiring freeze. You know, for most of us, we are salaried, so it's not like we're getting our hours cut. I don't know of any software developers who have lost their job, and one of the benefits of this career field, in a sense, it is many of us are working from home, and so we're kind of immune in that way from what's going on. That's the benefit of this job being computer-based, being remote. We can be anywhere. We can go bug out in the middle of nowhere. As long as we have an internet connection, we're essentially able to work from anywhere. So that is, it's a big plus right now. You know, nobody really knows what it's going to look like next month or 2 months from now. But every software developer I know, if they haven't already been working from home, they are completely working from home or have had their days, some days where they work from home and then some days where they come into the job. I don't imagine it being a very fruitful time right now for getting hired. I wouldn't stop applying though, because eventually this thing is going to slow down, and things are eventually going to get back to normal or a new normal, and people will be hiring again, or picking up in hiring. So I would say keep applying. If you are right now or thinking about holding off, the worst they can do is not contact you. And now that everyone's at home, if you don't have anything to do this weekend, apply to some jobs. David said, yeah, I'm surprised here too that there's new job posts almost every single day. Not too much tech, but when you're making $0 an hour, anything is better than that. That is true. That is true indeed. All right, guys, it's 3:18. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Logic Indie says, coming up with the idea takes longer than the entire development itself for me. I know. Coming up with ideas, I don't know. This is the thing. I used to constantly, when I first started out, I had so many ideas because I didn't have the constraints. I didn't know about the constraints. And so I thought, well, I can build all this stuff. You know, with a team, I could probably build most of the stuff that pops in my mind on a daily basis. But as time progresses, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm a little less creative with things. It was a lot easier for me to think of projects and build projects as a newbie than it is nowadays. It's just, I think it's because probably I'm doing this as an actual career and I have to think more practically. Whereas when you're learning, it's an environment where creativity is fostered. In the real world, a lot of times we're not rewarded for being creative. In fact, I would say most times we're not rewarded for being creative. Creative problem solving is different, but when it comes to thinking creatively, thinking out of the box, you know, people get shunned. The idea gets shot down. If you're in a meeting and you suggest something different, you know, it's labeled as weird or unconventional. Some companies, it really comes down to the culture, the company culture. Some companies are more open to that creativity than others. But yeah, I'm a lot less creative when it comes to project ideas. I'm a better creative problem solver. I'm a lot better at solving coding problems than I was. But thinking of projects, like if I sat down and was like, okay, today I'm going to build a project, I would just be staring at the screen. In fact, that's what I do every time I try to start a personal project. I usually just start with like the go-to, like I'll try and, you know, build a CMS or something with a certain framework with React or something. Nothing too out of control, nothing too really mind-blowing. Anybody else in the comments? Sammy says, love the CSS image manipulation idea. Bookmark Melanie's repo. Heck yeah. Gabe the Fifth said, according to Forbes, this thing is going to propel everything going online and stay there. All the face-to-face transactions are never coming back. That's a grim assessment. I do agree, though. David said, if Forbes can see the future, why didn't they warn of this in the first place? It's funny. Yeah, I would hope that with everyone not everyone, but a big chunk of people now working remotely or partially remotely, that companies can see that not all employees are required to be gathered at a workspace. And this just isn't even for safety reasons or health reasons, like the commute times. Some people don't do well around others. Some people are very sensitive to their environments. And you know, working from home has some people, I see it a lot. People have the assumption that if you work from home, you're going to screw around all day. That's not the case when you're in a professional career field. Most people can do just fine. And if you're not doing your work, it shows pretty quickly. It's going to reflect pretty quickly after that week of you screwing off. And then you're going to find yourself without a job. That would be the same case if you were screwing off at work. The only difference is you're in your own environment. You're in your environment of choice, working from home. So I do hope for the sanity of some people who do find workplaces stressful. Guys, they are some of the most unproductive places. Workplaces are so unproductive. Meetings and people interrupting and like, oh, new pot of coffee's on. Not, I do that at home, but you know what I mean. There's always some distraction. And then just like the drama of some coworkers. There are people who don't like you. You don't like some people. People who say, companies who say, our team is one big family. I'm very skeptical of that because families are dysfunctional. Anyways, guys, this live stream has gone on enough. I got to get back to work. Sarah says maybe they can give everyone a raise, seeing as they don't have to pay rent, right? Let's get some benefits here for the people. Anyways, thanks guys for tuning in. Thank you for the super chat, Barry. Cheers to you. Did I miss anything else here? Like, it's hard to see. Sometimes YouTube jams me on the chat, but I think I got everything here. Thanks for the great comments. Yeah, gonna be doing some more videos. Gonna be in the Discord here. Probably later on today. I do have to do some work, but yeah. This is one of those Minnesota goodbyes where I'm like, if you've never talked to a person from Minnesota, what would take someone from one of the coasts to say goodbye? Just double or triple that. Maybe even 10 times it. A person from the East Coast especially will say goodbye in about 10 seconds. Well, it was nice talking to you. Okay, yeah, have a great day. Okay, see ya. A Minnesota goodbye is at least 5 minutes. So according to my calculations, we still have 2 minutes together. What do I think is svelte? I think it's just another framework in the mix. I think it's good for hobbyists. I just think as far as commercial, and you know, I have a mentality where I'm thinking about like practicality as far as the workplace goes. I don't see a lot of companies converting the React apps into Svelte apps anytime soon. The mind share right now has been and currently is in React. And yes, we have Angular, especially popular with .NET shops. Microsoft PEEPs. For some reason, Angular and Microsoft related tech kind of. Angular, we also have Vue, which has not seen the commercial adoption that some people were hoping for, despite the GitHub stars. Svelte is cool. It's an improvement on a lot of things that these frameworks and libraries have been trying to do for the past couple years. Believe it or not, there were front-end frameworks before React. Knockout, there's a few others. But they're all essentially, there's variations and there's different times you want to use them, but there are a lot of similarities. The major things are, they're all trying to do those. They're all trying to do the same major thing. Or things. So yeah, I think Svelte is okay. Sammy says, if you haven't already done a video on Gatsby, then it would be a great topic for a future video. You know, the world wasn't ready for static sites a few years ago. A lot of people, my friend Michael Kornblum recommended I check out static sites because he's really into them. And I thought they were cool too. I discovered this new school static site collection about 3 years ago. You know, with Netlify and the static site generators, there's Gatsby, there's Stork, there's hundreds actually. Let me see. I want to show you guys really quick, and then I'm going to sign off because this is my Minnesota goodbye. Static site generator GitHub, because there's a metric crap ton of them. Where's the generators? Here we go. there is a site. There's like, this is not the site I was looking for. The point being, there are tons. Yep, Hugo, Jekyll, there's Stork, Pelican. Is there Stork too? I knew it was some big fat bird. React Static, there's a lot of them. Gatsby is the popular one because it incorporates React. I think they're really cool. I think right now they do have a very limited use. They're really popular with developers, but we're seeing more and more static sites specifically built with Gatsby come into the fold, and that's exciting because static sites are super fast. A lot faster than WordPress, that's for sure. The challenge, I think, with something like Gatsby, if it is to be a contender with something like WordPress, number one, WordPress is 33% of the web. It's 1 in 3 websites. That's not insignificant. So as far as like Gatsby catching up with WordPress, I don't think it's going to happen. I also don't see the graceful degradation of WordPress happening either, because they have done a job. There are certain things that will never change about WordPress, but as far as keeping up, they're trying more and more. For example, there was a component, the Gutenberg editor. It was rebuilt, and now it has a React interface, or it was built in React, and it's pretty cool to use. So WordPress is trying to keep up with the modern times, but Gatsby still has some very unique uses. We can talk about this in a future video. This might actually be a good time in 2020 to talk about static site generators and what they do when you would use them, and why people are going crazy over them, because they are relatively, I mean, essentially static sites were what everyone did back in the day, right? Like your GeoCities, they're sites that with no backend, among other things. So thank you guys for tuning in. Sarah says, thanks RTC, great live stream. Stay safe, everyone. Same here. Donovan said, fictional characters, Link from Legend of Zelda, Super Mario, and Sonic. That would be dope. All right, you guys wanted the link to this repo. Just build websites. I'm gonna throw it in the comments one more time, and then I am seriously out of here. This was where love GeoCities, right, Sammy? I could do a live stream just on how much I love GeoCities. GeoCities was awesome. GeoCities is like the original MySpace, and the original LiveJournal. It was the original everything. Like GeoCities was a big influence in my life. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. More videos coming up. Christy says best channel in the world. Thanks, Christy. That's really nice of you. Appreciate you guys. I love you guys. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. Stay safe. Peace out.